crisis ever. How did we get here? September 6th, the U.S. seizes Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac before they collapse. But they're unable to hold back the tide as Wall Street stocks begin plunging again. Sunday, Lehman Brothers goes bankrupt and is sold for pennies. The same day, CEO John Thain throws in the towel selling Merrill Lynch to Bank of America. And this Wednesday night, the government bails out the world's largest insurer, AIG, averting the single worst financial collapse in history. During the last 2 weeks, the U.S. government has taken over half of the $12 trillion U.S. mortgage market. The Federal Reserve has put more than a third of its $800 billion balance sheet at risk, and New York has watched 2 of its 4 remaining brokerage firms disappear. These 14 days have changed America forever and left the financial industry wounded like never before. How will Wall Street recover? Fast Money begins right now.
Hello, this is Brian Mckeon, partner at the JMB FLP. We're in some scary times now, and in those times I like to go back in history to see what our past leaders can teach us. And I found the easiest way to do so is with this book, Money and Power. With it and its matching video, you can go through 1,000 years of history in just 2 hours. And the time that I find things are most like now is the 1907 stock market crash, where the government was failing and J.P. Morgan had to step in to save the markets.
October 1907. In the woods of central Virginia, 70-year-old J.P. Morgan was attending an Episcopal convention when a series of telegrams arrived from his office. The stock market was on the point of collapse. Morgan waited until the convention finished so as not to alarm reporters, then rushed back to New York by private railroad car. One of the worst panics in American history had begun. Wall Street was in turmoil. Thousands thronged the street trying to get their money out of the banks. Managers instructed tellers to count out money in slow motion.
Money changes direction like a school of fish. You know, somebody goes off in that direction and suddenly, whoosh, everything is gone in a different way. And it's terrifying.
With the government powerless to help, the country turned to J.P. Morgan to try to save it from a depression. For 3 days, Morgan scarcely ate, came down with a terrible cold. Coughing and sneezing, he redeployed other people's capital to save dozens of banks, arranged for loans from the Treasury Department, acted as the nation's unofficial lender of last resort. Still, banks around the country withdrew their reserves from New York. Stock prices continued to tumble. Finally, the head of the stock exchange crossed the street to Morgan's office and told him the exchange would have to close. Morgan shook his head. Shutting down the exchange, he told the man, would lead to widespread depression.
So he called together the leading bankers and men who had control of money at that time on Wall Street. They met in his office. He said, we need $20 million in the next 10 minutes or the stock exchange will have to close early. Everybody in the room knew what that meant.
The bank presidents capitulated to Morgan's demands. The great financial Gorgon had cowed them and amassed the necessary funds to stop the panic. As news of the rescue circulated through the exchange, Morgan heard a roar across the street. The mighty and feared Jupiter was being given an ovation by the jubilant floor traders. J.P. Morgan had just bailed out the American economy.
We have seen food riots around the world, bank runs in the U.S., only to see them take their money out to buy the latest iPhone just 2 blocks away. College kids can't pay for school, and how long before we see riots here as well? The reason I'm bringing this up to you today is the Oracle of Omaha is stepping in to buy Goldman Sachs, GE, and Wells Fargo. He is getting 10% to do so. I'm merely following him and getting 8 to 9%. Guy Adami calls this possibly the greatest trade in trading history, and I don't want you to miss out. 100 years ago, Jupiter rallied the gods of Wall Street to save America. Now the Oracle of Omaha is doing the same.